recording has been started. So if you're not comfortable being on screen being recorded, which will be distributed and sent out via the Museums Association and the ASDC websites, please keep your cameras off. You're absolutely welcome to do that. But we will be recording the whole session and we'll share it next week when it's ready to do so. Okay, so let me go back to my screen here. Yep, so a little bit of, so the session has been recorded. Please keep your microphones muted throughout, and of course we will have a chance for you to ask questions verbally later on, but throughout, please keep your microphones muted just so we can have information presented to everybody succinctly. And we invite you to use the chat functions, the Mentimeters, and ask questions verbally later on. So please do that. We want to hear from you, and we want to hear what your questions and your queries are about mindsets and missions. But let me go through what we're going to do today. This is the same schedule that you'll have seen when you signed up for this. My name is Craig. I am the Mindsets and Missions Project Officer based within the Museums Association, but working in partnership and collaborating strongly with the other people you're going to hear from today. So our partner presentations from UKRI, we've got Jen Grove from UKRI, UK Research and Innovation. We've got Rachel from the Liminal Space. And we've got Sharon and Kate from the Association for Science and Discovery Centres, also referred to as ASDC. Many of you will be very familiar with all of these people. We'll have chance for the Q&A later on, so get your questions into us now. We'll get through as many as possible. And I'm going to finish up around about finish up around 5 to 11, and a hard finish at 11 o'clock for anyone that needs to go. But otherwise, we might be able to stay on a couple of minutes afterwards for anyone that can. I'll certainly stick around for a few minutes afterwards. After that. But first of all, what I'm going to just go through really, really quickly here is, what do you need to know? I'm going to make a bold assumption, and I hope I'm right in this, that people that have come along today have got some background information, have done some reading on what Mindsets and Missions is, either through the Museums Association website, the video that we've made, or through the ASDC websites and the downloadable links and things that are there. I really do recommend, if you haven't looked at those downloadable links that are on the Museums Association website and the ASDC website, please do so. I'll share a link with you after my short presentation here. And please do have a look through all that information. So what you are here to find out about is the applications for phase 1. Now, phase 1 is our learning program. And we are not looking to fund projects right now. This is applications to join a learning program, which we will bring together engaged and diverse portfolio of organizations and change makers within the museums sector and within the science center, science and discovery sector sector as well. There's a mouthful, isn't it? We're going to bring together UK-wide representation, many plural perspectives built through a range of experiences and expertise, working within community co-development, community partnerships, community engagement work, and audience engagement work in general. And we really are looking for organizations that sort of can demonstrate they're open to knowledge sharing, organizational learning, project design and collaboration with other people and organizations, and research and innovation with underrepresented audiences. We'll go into a little bit more detail very soon about what research and innovation and underrepresented audiences is very, very shortly. Okay. At this point, I want to emphasize that we're not, again, we're not looking to fund particular projects through this. It's okay if you have project ideas in mind, but right now, what we're looking for is people to join this learning cohort and be willing to learn together and embed new practices and innovation and ideas into their organizations. Okay. If that's raising some questions and things, please do put them into the chat for us or on the Mentimeter as well. Okay. Phase 1 comes with a very small grant just to support your involvement in that. So there's £2,000 towards organisations, a minimum of £500 towards individuals. This is to support participation across the sessions, which Rachel will talk about very, very soon in more detail. But about 15 hours between March, February and March. We're looking to take learning back to your organizations, particularly those applying from an organizational perspective. You want to take the learning back from the learning cohort into your organization. So there's an expectation of some time commitment there that the £2,000 will be able to support. Travel to any in-person events, mostly it's going to be online, but we'll be able to be about one in-person event will be organised. And there might also be an opportunity for you to involve any community partners that you already have. This is not a necessity, it's not a requirement, but that £2,000 to organisations would also be expected to support their time and commitment to this and any travel as well. For any individuals that are on the call today, people that would be applying through the individual pathway, not connected to a museum or a science centre, that minimum of £500 is a discretionary fund that we can discuss on a case-by-case basis to support participation if there are any other financial limitations to being involved in the programme. Okay. Just really quickly on to phase 2. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of depth because it's not what people are applying for just now. It's not what applications are open for. But within phase 2, which will open in April, organisations within the learning cohort will be eligible to apply for grants up to £75,000 to support projects that embody the learning taken from the learning programme and support research and innovation with underrepresented groups. And also we really do anticipate that these will not be sort of individual applications just from individual organizations, but there'll be collaborations, there'll be partnership working born from the learning phase, the learning program phase, but also there might be some involvement of organizations outside of the learning program as well, and that's absolutely fine too. Okay, I am doing a whistle-stop tour through this, I realize that. Very quickly, I want to move on to who are the right people and the organizations. So if you're an individual on this call and you're wondering, is this for me? What we're looking for are people who can come in and be the movers and the shakers, the change makers within the group, but people that are connected to the work of museums and science centres, familiar with these sectors and familiar with the amazing work that can be done within these places to connect audiences to opportunities for learning and opportunities to be involved within research and innovation. We're looking for specialists in community engagement, or specialists within equity, diversity, inclusion and justice issues, and experts through lived and learned experiences and topical issues and working with underrepresented audiences. These topical issues range from local issues that are affecting communities around the world just now to global issues such as anti-racism, climate justice, all of these big picture things that people are going to be interested in, and they want museums and science centres to support their learning in that and to support their connection to research and innovation that's happening within those spaces. If you are an organisation and you're looking to apply, we need you to be a museum or a science and discovery centre, a member of the Museums Association, a member of ASDC, or an accredited museum or proof to working towards that status. Okay, if you're unsure about your eligibility, please do get in touch to discuss that further. But this is really important that organizations are open to learning and development within their organizations and also knowledge sharing from the wealth of projects that you'll all have done, but also willing to share that knowledge with others and to embed learning that comes from the learning program into your organizations. So there needs to be a keenness overall within the organization to really embed research and innovation with communities and that sort of the new practice that we can learn, and to feed back on that and be part of the evaluation of new practices and ways of working with communities and such. A question I get asked a lot when I speak to people is, who is it that they should be putting forward to be part of this learning cohort? Well, it's somebody that can be committed to the full program and can be involved in all of the sessions. But also we want that person to be the influential doer within the organization, somebody within a relevant department. It could be within curation, it could be within learning and engagement, it could be within community partnerships, really anything like that. But that person has to be influential enough with the organization, have enough sway to feedback learning and to run sessions and training with colleagues, but also connected enough to the work and working on the ground and actually connected to delivery in some way as well. So hopefully within your organizations, you have a person that sort of like that stands out as that individual. Okay. That's all I'm going to go through just now. As I said, there's information on the website, the Museums Association website. There's a link to it just there. Well, not a link, obviously, because it's a PowerPoint, but you can take a note of that link there. Head to the Museums Association website or the ASDC website and type in Mindsets and Missions. My email address, nice and easy, is craig@museumsassociation.org. Please do get in touch if you want to discuss anything. But I have probably already spoken beyond my allocated time. So I would like to introduce, I'm going to stop sharing now, that's what I meant to do. I am going to pass over to my colleagues to discuss things from their perspectives here. So first of all, I'm going to pass over to Jen Grove from UKRI to speak about UKRI and why they're funding this program and what it is that's in them for the partnership here as well. So over to you then, Jen.
Sorry, I couldn't get the mute to work, the unmute to work then. Hi, everybody, and thank you, Craig. Really great to see so many of you here today. So my name's Jen. I work in the public engagement team in UK Research and Innovation. So if you don't know UKRI, as the acronym we call them, is the major funder of research and innovation in the UK, and we fund work right across the entire country and with lots of different partners and sectors. We include the nine councils which fund all aspects of research and innovation, and we're running this programme particularly with the Arts and Humanities Research Council. And so if you are involved in this programme, I'll be the point of contact for UKRI for you. So I just wanted to, as Craig said, just give a little bit of background about kind of why we are funding this programme, kind of what we're hoping comes out of it. So at UKRI, I've been on a journey over the last few years as an organisation looking for ways for research and innovation to be better connected to and shaped by wider society and by our communities across the country. So our new organisational strategy, so we have a kind of overarching organisational strategy, which among other things, one of the key goals in there talks about how to break our ambition to break down barriers between research and innovation and wider society, but also to involve a broader range of people and organizations in the way that we design and deliver research and innovation. And so sort of coming from that overarching organizational strategy, we've just developed in my team a specific public engagement strategy. But what we mean by that is we're kind of using public engagement as a whole big umbrella term for ways in which research and innovation can connect with wider society. So we've got three specific goals within that. One which is about making research and innovation more relevant and accessible to everybody. The second is about sharing the benefits of research and innovation, and particularly by collaborating and also valuing more diverse forms of knowledge. And the third one is about creating opportunities for everybody, but particularly by inspiring and engaging the next generation. So that's particularly looking at kind of youth engagement there. And across all three of these goals, we're very much trying to focus in on how can we engage with communities, people, places across the UK who have had fewer opportunities to engage with research and innovation. So just as some very kind of broad examples, which I thought might be useful, sort of just thinking about the kind of other work that we're funding at the moment. For example, funding communities to work with researchers or to actually carry out their own research about local challenges. So for example, here in Bristol, we're funding a project looking at the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade here in for communities here in Bristol. We also, for example, we run public dialogues to explore big topics like climate change. We also fund things like co-developing new technologies, such as with museums, for example, exploring how robots and robot interaction can build new audiences and also provide better access to exhibitions. But as I say, these are just some very specific examples, and we are really open to supporting work right across engagement, across different types of research and innovation, different kinds of knowledge production, and also tackling different types of big and small issues. But for us, we know, and the reason why we're involved with this program is we know that museums and science centres have this really incredible potential to achieve these goals that I've just talked about. So, I don't need to tell you all that, museums and science centres are this incredible space, but also more widely a bridge, a broker between wider society, between people and issues and things like knowledge production, research, and innovating. but we know that lots of people are missing out on that opportunity. So what we'd like to see from this program is to support museums and science centres to be able to work with people who have fewer opportunities to engage with research and innovation and knowledge production, but also, as Craig's already talked about, build the capabilities and the capacities of everyone involved in this kind of work and the ways that they can build that into their practice as well. And lastly, I should say, we also want to learn as a funder how we can better support this kind of work in the future. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Jen. If you've got any particular questions for Jen, please do get them into the chat. I've put in the link to the Mentimeter again into the chat there. Please do click on that and add any questions you've got into there. Okay. Next, I'm going to pass over to Rachel Harris from the Liminal Space, behind lots of the research that has driven the creation of Mindsets and Missions. So I'm going to pass over to you, Rachel.
Thanks, Craig. Hi, everyone. I think I'll just open with a disclaimer that, as you can probably hear, I am not at full strength today. So sorry that you need to listen to my sort of cold voice. So bear with me. And it's really lovely to see lots of familiar faces. It's great to see you all. And sorry if you need to listen to me repeat things that you've heard me say before. So I am just going to drop into the chat a little note as well, which I'm going to do now because I probably can't do it while I also talk. So as Craig just mentioned, I am from the Liminal Space, and some of you have met some of me and my colleagues previously. The Liminal Space is a small purpose-led organisation. We do lots of different types of work. We often do work with public organisations such as the Museums Association and ASDC, as well as funders like UKRI, and we work across lots of different sectors, but we really do feel that the cultural sector is our homeland, and a lot of us are really connected to that space. I previously have worked in a museum, as have many of my colleagues. So we do lots of different pieces of work, and that ranges from things like research through to engagement programs, through to exhibitions, and all kinds of weird and wonderful things in between. And the way that we joined this program is that a long time ago, at the beginning of the pandemic, Liminal Space was commissioned to make the Mindsets for Museums of the Future research piece, which I've just put into the chat from UKRI, which was in response to the pandemic and the ways in which the sector was going to need to change in that sort of big period where we all suddenly reassessed everything at the beginning of the pandemic, which feels like a million years ago now. And from there, that piece was really picked up because there were so many interesting ideas, and I think it got a lot of momentum, and a lot of people thought that it was a really sort of stimulating piece of research that connected with a lot of things that they are experiencing inside their organizations. And through there, we then did another piece of work, which was wonderfully supported by Wellcome, which was almost the equivalent, but for the science centre sector. So that's that second link that I've put in the chat there. So those two pieces of work, I think, are really the meat and the substance behind the learning program that our team is going to design for this project. So I am not going to go into the content of those two reports today, because hopefully many of you have already read those reports. And what I would say is, please do definitely read both of them before you apply. And also, even if you are a museum and you feel like perhaps the science piece isn't for you, I would really encourage you to read the sort of like the partner piece, because I think one of the wonderful things about this program and working with our wonderful partners, ASDC and Museums Association, is that there's so much potential for really sort of magical cross-sector sort of fertilization there. I think a lot of organizations who we've spoken to have really enjoyed stepping into museums or science centers, because it's not where they've come from, and seeing how many wonderful parallels there are there, but also how there's really a lot to learn from each other. So I think that that's, yeah, a really wonderful part of this program moving forward. I think in terms of what the mission of the program is, it's going to be based on bringing a lot of the ideas and thinking and concepts in those two reports to life, so that people can come together with other professionals in the museums and science centre sectors and discuss those ideas and really talk about, if they were going to put them into practice inside their organisations, what might that look like. And what we've really heard previously from work that we've done is that the most valuable thing that we can offer people in a learning program is time to sit around and discuss with other people. I think it's not about sitting on Zoom and having lots of speakers present to you, or doing lots of reading, or sort of filling out, you know, template cards. I think it's really about being able to sit around and chew the ideas and have discussion and engage and brainstorm. And so that's really what we're basing the program format on. There's going to be, as Craig mentioned at the top, there's going to be a combination of in-person and online experiences. But what we really want to base it around is people being able to pull those ideas apart and bounce them off each other and work together, and then be able to take them back to their organizations, work through them, come back together again and pull them apart. And so we just want it to be really dynamic, and it's definitely not death by Zoom. So that's the report there. I think the rationale of why we're doing this work is that there's real appetite for the sector to collaborate with each other and to have more time to spend just together and to generate ideas and to reflect on things together and to be able to connect. I know that you're all very focused on doing your jobs inside your organization, so we really wanted to create space for you to step away from your organization for a moment and just be able to spend time thinking about how you might do things differently. So that's what we've really focused on when we've been designing this program. And the funding pot at the end, I know that that's the kind of elephant in the room here today. So we're hoping that all of that wonderful, juicy thinking and workshopping that you'll do together will really help you to think about what you might be able to do with the funding pot. We're really hoping that the work that you do will inspire a project that can help inform that bid that you make at the end. Yes, so I'm just checking my notes to make sure I've covered everything for you all. So the other things that we really wanted to note was that it's hopefully a really wonderful opportunity for personal development as well. I know that everyone has been working really hard over the last couple of years, and it's really been a matter of survival for a lot of organizations. So again, we really hoped that, as well as being a space for sort of creative energy and a space to think, we also hoped that it would be an opportunity for people to be able to really step into an opportunity about, this is what I can contribute. I've got some ideas. I really want to learn from other colleagues and sort of be able to build on my own personal journey inside this sector as well. And I think that's all I've got on that. And so I'm just checking my notes. So sorry, guys. I think I've covered everything. I think what I will do is just ask Craig to put a slide up on the screen, which we just put together, which is just a couple of dot points on the actual mechanics of the program. So as Craig mentioned earlier, it's going to be across February and March. We're thinking that there'll be a little bit of onboarding in February, just for everyone to be able to sort of understand who else is taking part in the program and introduce you to all the sort of formats in which we're going to be working together. But we're hoping that it will be about a 3.5-day commitment over that, sort of mainly that's over March. So we're hoping that there was going to be one day where everyone comes together at the beginning. And we think that might be sort of in smaller groups regionally, but we're really going to see what the spread of participants is like. So we're hoping that that first moment you'll be able to come together and meet people in person and really kick off. And it's a real introductory phase to get everyone brought into the program. You're embedded, you're ready to go. And then from there, we're going to move on to some online work where we will come together, do those sort of really hopefully in live engaging sessions online with each other, where you'll really have the opportunity to sort of pull ideas apart with your colleagues, and we will be sort of facilitating hopefully a really engaging format for you to do that in. And then you'll be taking it back into your organization, having a go at how do your colleagues respond to this, how might we practice this, and then bringing it back together and sharing with your sort of fellow cohorts how that went, and hopefully building on those ideas even further. So that will be over a sort of 3-week period following that sort of first initial live moment. So that's just a bit of a sort of top level sense of what the actual program is that you would participate in if you were selected. And I think that is all that I've got for you. I'm sure there'll be probably lots of questions coming out from that. So I'm looking forward to hearing your questions about that. As Craig said, please put them in the Menti, and we'll come on to them later.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I think you paint a really nice picture there of where this has all come from, but also the excitement, the momentum behind it all. So please do read those reports, everybody, if you haven't already. And Yes, I think it's just get with the program, because it's exciting, the possible changes that are ahead of us and the opportunities for both sectors, the museums and the science centre sector. So on that note, I am going to pass over to Sharon, who many of you will know from ASDC, and she's just going to speak for a few minutes about the partnership here and about the involvement of museums and science centres within this space. Okay, thanks very much, Sharon.
No worries. I'm going to be super quick as well, because we've got to get on to your questions. I just wanted to put a bit of clarity in terms of what the science and discovery centres are, because I know that there's some confusion. People often think that we're science parks or business parks and things like that. But here at ASDC, the Association for Science and Discovery Centres, we really stand for a vision of a society where science is accessible and inclusive and valued by all as a fundamental part of everyday life. And we stand for a membership which is incredibly diverse and very impactful. We have the big Millennium Centres, those big powerhouses like Glasgow Science Centre you might have heard of, or National Space Centre. Many of them are going to be on the call. We have like beautiful twinkling, sprinkling of observatories and remote and small and rural science and discovery centres, some of which are, you know, 1 or 2 person organisations, and they're all charities. And we stand together for greater advocacy and connection and insight together. And I think the reason that it's exciting for us is that I think previously for museums and for science centres, we were very much kind of content first, you know, collections first, you know, that drives us, or science first and science content first. And there's been a massive shift, an obvious shift in the last 5 years, and accelerated over the last couple of years towards a much more audience focused approach. And that aligns our 2 sectors perfectly. So we achieve a similar vision now, and we achieve them through our collections, maybe that of artifacts and curated collections, albeit through hands-on interactive exhibits, or but we all have audience-led activities where we all have community participation at our heart now, and use digital, you know, this acceleration of digital innovation as well since the pandemic, to drive us. So I think we share these common visions and values of inclusivity, of collaboration, of community participation, sustainability, innovation, and that means that the 2 sectors are now so much more united. There's so much more that brings us together than ever before, and that's why this opportunity to sort of grow and collaborate and learn together is a brilliant point. And in particular, sort of exploring the space that we can create to deliver this, the strategy of UKRI, you know, this broker between research and innovation and the wider society. So that's where I think we are. And, you know, just so that, you know, have a look around at the wider participants in the group. We have so many people here. And we're hoping that learning can be shared and we can work together. So I'll pass over to Craig for the questions. But please, anything in specific about science and discovery centres that you're unsure of, or opportunities for collaboration, then please do get in touch.
Thank you so much, Sharon, and thank you everybody else, Jen, Rachel, and yeah, Kate from ASDC here as well to answer questions for us as well. So I've posted once again the link to the Mentimeter, where you can post your questions you have for us. I've got a few in so far. Please also feel free to use the hand raising function on Zoom. Down at the bottom there, you go into reactions, and then there's the opportunity to put your hand up. So feel free to do that. We'll ask some verbal questions, and yeah, so hopefully we can get some information here, and there'll be some people asking questions that you have as well. So please do listen to the answers here that we've got, and we'll share this recording afterwards. So I want to just recognize, so Philip has mentioned in the comments here that one of the most underrepresented groups in society are the primary school sector. I think it raises an important point that I want to say, that within the application form, there's an opportunity for you to discuss who your underrepresented audiences are. This isn't a place for us to tell you who your underrepresented audiences are. You will have your own data, your own information about who comes to your who comes to your museum, who comes to your science centre. Let us know who is missing and why it's important that they should be engaged. Let us know who you're already working with, but being involved in this program could help you work with them even further. So Audiences are going to vary a lot, and it's just important that we recognize who the important people are to bring on board here. So let me go over to the Mentimeter here. I can share my screen again and open this up, and we can go through some of the questions. I'll try and answer some as we go, but please do feel free to jump in. Rachel, Kate, Sharon, and anybody else that wants to comment on a question that's been raised there, please do put your hand up or add another question into the chat. So we've got quite a few coming here. So can organizations put forward 2 members of staff for the learning phase 1? I would say for that, I'll take that one if that's okay, everybody, because I think that if there was a really compelling reason that you felt it was 2 people that should come along to the learning cohort, let us know why within the application form. There's a spacing, it's the final question within the application form. Is who is the best person within your organization. If there's a reason that it should be 2 people, let us know why that is. That's something that we can discuss further. Either before you submit your application, you can get in touch with me, or afterwards, if you are successful as well, it's further conversations we can continue having. But let us know why that should be the case for your organization. I'm going to go through these quite quickly because we do have to sort of go through them all. But how many spaces are available in the learning program? Yeah, very good question. We're looking at around about 30 organizations to join, and that will be representative of the 2 sectors. So there will probably, it's just the way that the sectors are made up. There will be more museums than there are science and discovery centres, but we're looking for a really good number of science and discovery centres as well. In our heart of hearts, we're looking for between about sort of like absolute bare minimum of 3, but I think the number of people on this call show us we're going to get more applications than that, which is great news. But looking up to about 5 or 7 centres. Sharon and Kate, is there anything else on that note with the involvement of science and discovery centres there and the representation?
No, I think
No.
you nailed it. We know a minimum of 3 out of the 10, but yeah.
So
right.
30 organizations made up of science and discovery centers, and around about 15 of these individuals, these change makers that are made up there, that could be individual researchers, people who work within the sector but aren't connected to a particular organization. They could be small collectives and organizations working within the sector as well. We want to hear from you. So around about 45 spaces made up of organizations and individuals. Could teams from different sites be able to apply to join the cohort at the same time, or would we be limited to 1 application? Anyone else? Anyone want to comment on that, or I'll just go ahead? I think
I'll jump in on that if that's okay.
Rachel, that's great.
So I think it's a great question, because I think we do know that there are, say, for example, museum sites that like an obvious example is like Imperial War Museums, for example. They have sites across the country. I would say that because those sites probably have different aims and different goals, it would be great to get an application for each individual site if they felt like there was a really different mission for each of those. So I would say that would be wonderful. And I think maybe just acknowledge, if you are doing that application, that you know that the other Imperial War Museum is also going to apply with their site in London as well as their site outside of London. It's terrible that I can't remember where the other one is. And maybe just speak to the difference in those the different sites. Sorry, my sickness is really kicking in, isn't it? The different sites and the different aims of those sites. Obviously, they're working with different audiences. They'll have different community connections. So maybe just speak to those so that we can really understand the difference in those 2 applications. But I think that's great, because we wouldn't want to limit an organization that has perhaps 5 different sites that they're operating from. Is there anything that anyone else wants to add to that, or if that covers it?
I would just say there's some conversations I've been having between, for example, museums and science centres who are working really, really closely together within council groups, and they're already working towards shared values, and they're having conversations just now about whether they put in 1 application, and there's a lead organisation within that collaboration continues, and the learning gets taken back not only to their own organisation but back to that whole collaborative group that already exists. Or they may submit separate applications, but referring to the fact that they know the other one is also applying, and that learning is to be shared across the board. And that's then for the selection committee to decide on the value of involving both organizations there. So I would welcome, I would support sort of like both scenarios of one lead organization or 1 lead museum within your group, but then also the alternative could exist as well if there's a compelling case for it. So let us know in your application. International engagement and participation. Does anybody want to comment on this? So, the program mainly UK-based organisations and individuals. So this person acts as a representative for a US company.
Yes, so this is Christiana Kazakou.
Hello.
I am actually a researcher in the UK, so I'm funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council. But at the same time, I work as the program engagement specialist for Leonardo's, the International Society for Arts, Sciences and Technology. And we do have a global network, and we have several activities. We publish with MIT Press, and at the same time, I also work for like some EU programs on Augmented Europe, and it's actually about connected future. So I was wondering whether I can bring actually these projects that I work on within my application, or whether I should strictly apply as a researcher.
So there, I think I'm happy to sort of say that there. I think within your application as an individual, I would definitely think it could be really valuable to bring in an international perspective there. So that wouldn't necessarily be a requirement that you're purely UK based or anything. UK organisations, however, are the only ones. So if you're applying as a museum or a science centre through the organisation application form, you will have to be UK based, because we need that to be a UK based museum or science centre, member of the Museums Association or ASDC, or accredited museum or working towards that. So as an individual, I think it'd be possible to apply as an international person, and telling us why that's really valuable to the conversations we'll be having within the learning programme. But as an organisation, it would have to be UK based. Does anybody else want to say anything on that?
At the same time, though, actually, I'm a researcher on this area in the UK, so I would like to apply as an individual based in the UK, and then also, like I mentioned, the international activities.
Okay, Christiana, how about we have a conversation afterwards? So
Yeah.
you send me an email afterwards. I'll share my email address again before the session's over, and we can set up a 5 or 10 minute call, just have another conversation around the specifics of that. That's okay. But thanks so much for sharing. How can a startup for a new science and discovery centre be supported? Yeah, great question. So again, it might be an individual conversation that would be best having, unless anybody else wants to share anything on that just now. Okay, so yeah, get in touch with me afterwards, and let's have a conversation about how if you're perhaps not yet a member of the Science of ASDC, it'd be great to think about other ways that you could apply to bring your learning to the program.
I did wonder if this is a new science and discovery centre that might already be an ASDC member and already be active, but potentially not have a building yet. I mean, it's if actually you are an organisation, you are already a charity, and you are already acting, but most of your work is outreach, then that is fine. There have been science centres across our history that have been predominantly outreach, but they're still considered a science centre. So I was just wondering if that is from an organisation that is actually already established as a charitable science centre.
Can I just come in here, just thinking in terms of our own local Norris Museum in St Ives, which is very much more sort of arts and craft orientated at the moment, linking possibly with the Cambridge Science Centre, linking the two as a start, perhaps, for developing on the museum side.
Sorry, what's the question there?
Sorry?
What's the question? Sorry, I'm just not sure what the question is there.
It's just an idea come to me, in fact, is linking our local museum here, which is very much sort of arts and crafts side, with a conventional museum side, with a connection with Cambridge, which is only a short distance away, the Cambridge Science Centre that exists now, doing work there in terms of perhaps developing through to into the primary sector somewhere. There's ideas in the back of my head are sort of developing anyway as we're talking here today.
That's great.
Yeah, if you need any connections at all, with the Science Centre, then let us know, and we can sort of put you in touch if those conversations haven't yet started.
I had connections, in fact, to find out what they were actually doing with primary schools a little while ago. Our local Norris Museum, I'm actually looking at the other end because I'm quite connected with that, with the dementia group as well. So both ends of the age spectrum, shall we say. Yeah. And as I said,
thanks for that, Philip. I'm aware of time. We're going to have to get through some more questions there, Philip. But thank you so much for sharing your ideas. And I'm really open to have a conversation afterwards and things. So please do. And leaving anything in the chat just now that other people can read, that'd be really fantastic. And I'm happy to have a call with you afterwards as well. Thanks so much, Philip. You've clearly got a lot of knowledge in the area there, so it's valuable to hear from you. This is a question I've been asked before about applying as an individual and an organization. There's two separate application forms. If that's something that you want to do, I think it's important to explain within the application forms that you are doing that and the reasons that you would be. You wouldn't be likely to be successful as both an individual and as an organization. But if there's a reason that you want to do that, let's have a little chat about that, what that might be and what the reasons for that might be there, the specifics. Not geared towards smaller organizations, no. So what we're really looking for within the application form, one thing I should have said was we're not really looking to look for eligibility within the questions that we're asking there. It's really to look for that diverse portfolio of organizations, from the small to the large, to the spread across the UK, to the journey, that the different places within the journey of working with community co-development and community research and things. So really it's the big players, the small local organizations and things as well, the places with hundreds of employees, the places with only a few employees. Absolutely want to hear from everybody. So let us know in the application form why your voice would stand out and why it's valuable within the learning cohort and why this is a good time for you to be applying for it. Does that answer that question? Would staff at organizations with independent research organizations be status be eligible to apply? That's something I'll need to look into about that. So let's have another conversation unless anybody else has got anything to say on that. Please feel free to send me a direct message with your email address as well if you want me to get in touch with you afterwards. No, you don't want to apply as both an individual and an organization unless I've already touched on that there and the reasons you might want to do that. Small organization applying, collaborating with a larger museum in the same city, should be both. That's something we've actually sort of already touched on. Hopefully that question has kind of been answered there. It would be up to you within your collaboration whether one organization takes the lead and the other one is a sort of a recipient of the learning that comes from the learning cohort, or you both apply. I would advise though within your application form that you acknowledge that you recognize that other organization you're working in partnership with already is also applying. So there's not a sort of a conflict there or anything. Anybody else want to mention anything else on that?
I think I would. I think I might just sort of speak to that. So I think that it's completely understandable that a lot of these questions are about accessing the funding at the end of the program. But I think I would just love to say as well that the program in itself, participating, is also a really worthwhile piece of work to be doing. It's not just a gateway to funding. So in terms of that question there about should we both apply, I would say absolutely, because it's really worthwhile to take part in the program, both of the people. So it's not just about how do we make sure we get access to the funding at the end. So I just wanted to add that to that question as well.
I think that's a great addition there, Rachel. Thank you for that, because this is not a gateway to the funding only. This is actually about learning and development, professional learning as an individual or as an organization. So yeah, thank you. Just want to repeat that there, Rachel, because it's so important. Thanks. What collaboration opportunities are available for new Science Centre startups? I think, just as we said there, it's an opportunity for connections within the sector, partnerships with these radical change makers that are going to be introduced to the group as well, people who can really hold the sector to account and really shake up our learning and our development as we go forward, connections to local and global issues, and also the communities that are affected by these and want to learn more about them. I think there's a lot of opportunity there to start from the start up. If you're a startup, you're in the ground up, you're in the start of your relationship with communities. This is a great place to come into it.
I think I'll just add to that as well, Craig, that what we're doing with the learning program is that people will obviously be connected to other people in their sectors, but also beyond. So if you're a museum science centers, if you're a science center museums, as well as you said just there, hopefully a bunch of really interesting sort of creative, perhaps research practitioners who are also going to be taking part in the program. But we're also going to have guest speakers coming in. We're going to have other general creatives who we're hoping can really stimulate ideas, as well as Liminal Space has partnerships with other organizations who do really interesting work, as well as just, yeah. So I think there's the communities, there's the other people participating in the program, but then there's all the other interesting people who are feeding into the actual content of the program who you could potentially collaborate with as well. And hopefully in the work that you do in the program, your exploration, your research that you're going to do, you'll also perhaps find other relationships that you can sort of make collaborations from as well.
Yeah. This next question here about geographical spread. Yeah, we're very, very conscious of having a geographical spread and having representation across all 4 countries within the UK. There's no specific agenda to have a higher proportion of London-based or the South of England organisations. It really depends on the applications that we get in and the picture of these organisations that get painted for us. But there will be a geographical spread across the region, and it's potentially likely there will be more in certain areas because that's where the applications come in from and where the concentration of organisations are based. But there's no agenda to have a higher proportion from London.
I think that's something that we're really conscious of. I think a lot in terms of, that's something that I know that UKRI is really keen on as well, that it's that kind of like, things can be very London centric and we're really aware of that. And so we're going to make sure, I would say that if anything, there's a guarantee that it won't be that, because I think that would be a failure in the selection process if that's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. This one here might be one that Jen wants to talk to a little bit perhaps, but my immediate thoughts are that yeah, as an independent research organization, perhaps this isn't the fund for you, but again, it might be down to an individual conversation that we have. It could be that you're very valuable as an individual, but as an organization, we're looking for museums and science and discovery centers to be applying as organizations. Anyone want to chip in on that one there?
Yeah, I think we were thinking of non-IROs being funded through this program, but yeah, let's have a separate conversation about that, because as Craig said, you know, we can sort of look at the details of that and sort of double check whether that might be eligible as an individual particularly. But yeah, please do get in touch with us separately.
Yeah. Just going to quickly jump to the chat as well, because there's a question coming from the National Space Centre. Thank you very much, about working with schools. Absolutely, schools are a valuable community to be involved in this, and they're a great source of information. So yes, schools can be a legitimate underrepresented audience, and they represent an underrepresented audience as well, diversely so. Okay. Just aware of time, I'm just going to have a little look through questions here as quickly as possible, and we will produce a frequently asked questions document following this as well to try and answer as many of these questions or in the themes that they come in as possible. I'll share that afterwards just in case we don't go through them all. But so this is, our staff at museums taking part expected to have a science dimension to their work? That's a really good question, just in terms of it's one that comes up regularly with me. No. There's the involvement of science and discovery centres in this is because of the shared values, the shared goals that we have, and the work with community audiences and the value that that can have and the connection to research and innovation. But it's not necessary to have a science or a STEM angle to the work that you're doing. This is very much just about connecting, giving ownership to communities and empowering them with the really big issues in society. Lots of that will have a STEM link, but it's not necessarily that you're thinking of this in terms of a STEM way. Anyone else want to say anything on that?
I think you covered it really well.
Okay. Let's just see, have you got a preference or have you had thoughts on how, sorry, my screen's in, what level of seniority in the organization would be best for joining the cohort? That's some information that I'll share again. Please watch back on this presentation if you didn't see it from the start. Watch back on the recording when we share it round and have a look at the PowerPoint as well that we'll share. But really it's about somebody who is that influential doer, somebody who's connected to the delivery of work, but also can have an influence in the organization. So whatever level of seniority that is within your organization, really.
I'll just add to that, Craig, so sorry to jump in.
No, you're
I think it's also important that the person who does the work has capacity to do the work.
Yes.
So I think, you know, if you are the CEO and you're running an organization, you're already really busy, it might not be for you because you need to take time out and do this work and be able to make space in your workload to do it. So just to add to all the great points that Craig's already made.
Yeah. And thank you for this question as well. Do we need to book an appointment to discuss our application beforehand? If you're satisfied with the information that's been provided today and is available online for you, no, absolutely not. But please feel free to reach out for a 5 or 10 minute call with me if that is going to be helpful to you. But it's not a necessary requirement of the application. We just strongly advise it. But that was what we put this webinar together for, the purpose of sort of reaching as many people as possible at once, because because we realized that we might not be able to get through everybody otherwise. A registered charity to apply. So the application, the eligibility for application is all on the website, either the Museums Association website or on the ASDC website. So you need to be a museum, member of the MA or a member of ASDC to apply. Let's see, what if you already submit? Yeah. It's absolutely fine to have already submitted applications to other projects with either ASDC or with the Museums Association. That won't be a bias in either way for your application here. And there might be some very valuable learning that will come from being part of Mindsets and Missions that will feed into other work that you're doing. Yeah, I think we've covered that one. Yeah, that's a question. Is this likely to happen in future years? Let's see how valuable the Museums and Science and Discovery Centre sector is to connecting audiences with research and innovation. Are we the correct place to do it? Are we the space that can best do that? And we'll we'll collect data and we'll share that with the sector and see what learning comes from that. Jen, do you want to say any more on that?
Jen, we'd love to.
Yeah, I would love to make promises. We get our budgets on a very short cycle from the government, being honest. So, but definitely, you know, the kind of trajectory is that we have been, and AHRC as well are already supporting museums in this way, and in fact other places across councils across UKRI. So I would say the trajectory is that we are hoping to continue funding this kind of work, but you know, no promises at the moment. But as Craig said, this is also for us to learn how we can best support you and the sector to do this kind of work as well. Sorry not to be more specific.
I think that's probably not very surprising to many people that we can't be more specific at this point. I mean, we all work in this sector and see how things change so rapidly all the time. And I think that it's great to just be able to embrace opportunities as they come along, and the hope that this learning will influence the future of your organization. I'm just going to, as we near the end here, I'm going to put one final question to you and put a link to the Mentimeter again for you to add. So the question is, what does research and innovation, that's meant to say, what does research and innovation mean to you in this context? If you want to add any comments on that, go to the Mentimeter where there's a new slide that you can now add to. You can also leave your answers to that question in the chat as well. What does research and innovation in this context mean to you, and working with underrepresented audiences as well? Also, in the last couple of minutes, an opportunity to please ask any more questions that you've got. It'd be really valuable if these are questions that are going to be useful to other people in the room as well, and could help in other people deciding whether they're going to apply or not.
Can I just come in and just say, Craig, you mentioned STEM. Can I say regarding this, in fact, is this going on stream? Because I've added in R in there, reminiscences, experience coming into education, and of course the A included for art as well. So we're going across the board as far as education now, not just STEM, but we're going on stream.
Absolutely. There's lots of topical debates around that, whether so it's really what we're just talking about there is we're within the body of science, technology, engineering, maths, arts, creativity. It's all part of a very, very valuable tapestry of learning and opportunities that we can present to underrepresented audiences. So it's a great conversation to have. But yes, all of these things are very, very, very welcome within this space. So thanks, Philip.
I think I might just add something as we're wrapping up. I don't think there's any other questions coming in that I can see. I think I would really just encourage everyone to share this opportunity with other people that they know who are working in the sector. Please don't think of it as people who are potentially going to beat you out for any kind of funding opportunity. I think this is such a great program, and we're really hoping that we get a really engaged and really sort of a cohort full of people who work in lots of different types of organizations, who do lots of different work. And it's a mixture, as we've covered in this call, of people who are currently working in organizations, but also there is that channel for people who are individuals. So if you know awesome freelancers who are working in the museum and science center sector, please point them to this opportunity to get them to take part as well, because we're just really hoping that we can create a great program, and out of that will come some great resources, and we can really use this as a great sort of opportunity to stimulate these two industries and hopefully get some great ideas for projects that can come out of it, that are hopefully perhaps collaborations with a couple of different organizations, or they're, you know, an organization who's working with some great freelancers who are doing really creative and interesting work and really sort of pushing the sector forward. So I think I would really just encourage everyone to share this opportunity widely, just beyond this call as well.
And I will then take this.
We're at 11. Sorry to use up all the remaining time.
No, I'll take this opportunity just to say thank you very much to everybody for coming along today. If you still feel that a conversation with me is would be valuable to you, please do get in touch. I'm just going to put my email address into the chat just now. But I'm willing to speak with anybody. I should have that, musicsassociation.org, that's correct. Yeah, so it'd be great to speak to anybody that's still unsure whether this is the right program for you, or any help with your applications. We're not looking to lead anyone down blind alleys and down any rabbit holes. So please do get in touch. And if anybody wants to stay on for a couple of minutes and ask any other questions, I will stick around certainly. And for the next 10 minutes, I'll be able to stick around. So please do come along and ask any questions you've got. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming along. And yeah, we'll look forward to speaking with you.
Applications. Thanks so much, everyone.